Morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on the secrets to writing garage insurance. My name is Renee Augustini. I'm CEO of CID Insurance Programs, and we're lucky to have Teresa Cochran, who's our garage underwriter and our expert in this area, and the two of us will be facilitating the webinar today. But I also want to introduce Jacob Cole, who's our lead marketing specialist, and he is responsible for making these webinars go so smoothly. Without further ado, let's get started and talk about logistics and our objectives. Everyone should know the routine by now that with our webinars, the participants will be muted. You'll be able to hear but not speak. But your questions and your voice is important to us, so we really appreciate you posing any questions that you might have in the chat room at any time throughout the webinar, and we will stop and answer them as we go. So what are we going to be talking about today? So the interesting thing about Garage is the Garage application is the key to really being able to understand what coverages options there are for your potential insured. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. And Teresa's also going to be talking about the coverages that are unique to the Garage form that you won't see on any other types of policy forms for other businesses. And then we want you to be able to identify the coverage that's needed for each garage risk. So Teresa's going to be spending time on that as well. So let's get started. Okay, so again, we're going to be using the application. Teresa's going to be talking and showing you the application, and so we're going to start with understanding the auto exposure, because we're going to be talking about auto dealers, and we're talking about auto service facilities through most of this, along with other types of auto exposures. But this is where she's going to go through the app and ask, talk about how autos are stored, things like about gross receipts that you'll need for other uninstalled product sales, such as accessories or parts that are not installed on the vehicle. Do they pick up or deliver autos that are not owned by you? So obviously that's an exposure. And then towing is definitely exposure. So she's going to move right into the application and guide you through so you know how to get these questions answered for your potential insureds that you are looking to quote. Take it away.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, sorry. Hi, everybody. I'm Teresa, and I'm your garage underwriter here at CID Insurance. And I'm definitely not going to be going question by question through the whole application. I just kind of picked and choose, the ones that I really wanted to bring to your attention that are really heavy on my side, on the underwriting side. So let's start with how are our clients keeping these autos stored overnight? Are they storing autos overnight? Maybe they're just a quick lube and they're not doing that. But if they are not and they are storing vehicles overnight, are they just on an open lot, which is fine, but are there no theft barriers? Is there no cable? Is there no fencing? Are they not kept inside or are they kept inside a building? These are the questions that I'm going to be asking to see what type of protection is available for the vehicles that are either owned for your dealership or not owned, like for your repair shop. And then moving down to question 4, it's asking about receipts. I don't need the bookkeeper to give the client their annual receipts for each of these sections. I just need a good estimate. This is going to help me know, how much repair are they doing, how much sales are they doing, and are they doing any uninstalled product sales? So maybe they're selling, fun things that you can add to your vehicle that maybe our insured does not install. These types of sales are going to be rated for on the GL section of the policy. So The best estimate you can give me for the uninstalled product sales would be great. But the questions for the vehicle, equipment sales, and the repair sales, I really just need a good estimate. That's not going to be an underwriting factor, but the carrier does like to see those questions answered. And moving down to number 6, is there a pickup or delivery exposure? If there is, that's fine. We can definitely write those. Just let me know how many times per week they're doing it, how far they're traveling. Our policies cover up to 300 miles. If they're doing anything more than that, then I'm going to have to expand that distance traveled by adding a slight surcharge on the policy. And are they doing any tow for hire? What is tow for hire? That is when a customer calls the repair shop saying, hey, I'm broken down. Can you come get my car? No problem. They can go pick up the vehicle, but where are they taking that vehicle? Are they taking the vehicle back to that client's home? Are they taking it to some other repair shop? Or are they taking it to their own repair shop? If your customer is taking that car to their repair shop, perfect, not a problem. But if the client's taking it to somebody's home or somebody else's repair shop, we're probably not going to be a market for that. But it's something that we can definitely talk about.
Oh, so in addition, let's keep going through the application with Teresa, and she's going to point out the highlights, the things that you really need to know about and understand better, so you can evaluate the exposures. So the garage exposure is one that she's going to spend a little time on. She's going to talk about things like whether, do you have dealer plates? Well, some people don't even know what dealer plates are. So she's going to explain that. And who works for the business, and how, and are they a furnished driver? What types of auto are being sold or repaired? These are all important things that she's going to cover on the next couple slides.
All right, I know these 2 questions aren't highlighted on this page, but I kind of threw them in late in the game here. So I wanted to go over questions 10 and 12. There's been a couple of claims that have crossed my desk, so I wanted to bring these up real fast. Question 10 is talking about, do you obtain certificates of insurance from subcontractors? Why would a garage exposure have a subcontractor? Well, some repair shops don't specialize in maybe brakes or transmission repair, but their buddy next door does. So they have their friend next door repair the brakes or the transmissions. But guess what? They're not insured. And that vehicle has broken down. So now it's on you. It's on your insurance to pay for that. Well, guess what? Our carriers don't want to pay for it. They want your buddy next door to be insured, and that's why you need to obtain a certificate of insurance. So that's something to bring up with your clients that maybe they don't really think about. And then question 12, I believe, is a question that definitely is overlooked, and it's assumed that the client does not loan or lease autos. Well, in this day and age, a lot of people are loaning and leasing autos, so please pay attention to this question. There's been some accident claims that crossed my desk, and it's from people loaning vehicles to clients. So please bring this up with your customer. Don't just assume that they're not loaning or leasing an auto if they have a repair shop. And the question that is highlighted is in regards to dealer plates and registration plates. Dealer plates are, excuse me, dealer plates are something that every dealership registers for. They're used for test drives, or even if they're taking the vehicle to go get repaired something else, they'll put on a dealer plate for that exposure. And the registration plates are typically used for repair shops or salvage yards. They're designed to make an unregistered vehicle a licensed vehicle to drive. And if this does not make sense to you, our slide right here has a nice definition of a dealer plate and registration plate and you will receive a copy of the slideshow, so you can always print a copy and have it available for you on your desk. But the reason why we do need to know the number of dealer plates or registration plates, it's used when I'm rating up a quote for your client. So it is something I need to know the number of. Now we're getting into the employees, ownership, who's driving. All of these are very important questions. I am not able to offer a garage liability quote unless this section is completed. So please, please, please list all owners, no matter if they are active in the business or not. All your employees, clerical, even if you have a janitor on staff, your mechanics, your salespeople, your finance person. I need everybody listed on here. If you have a friend that maybe will pick up a vehicle at an auction for you every once in a while, we need them on there as well. So please have their name, at least their age. I don't need their exact date of birth, but their, the year they were born. Are they a furnished driver? Which location they're working at? Any violations, if this is a driving exposure, full-time or part-time in their job duty. The reason why I need date of birth is if they're an older driver, in their 80s, or if they're a younger driver, 21 and younger, additional underwriter criteria is needed. A furnished driver, maybe you're not familiar with that terminology. A furnished driver is anyone that is driving a vehicle off of a lot for personal use. So let's say the owner is going to go pick up his daughter from school. He's a furnished driver. So let's say your mechanic has to go pick up a part real quick. Well, that's business use, so he's not a furnished driver. And full-time or part-time job duties each have different rating factors, so it is very, very important to include that information, or else we're going to be going back and forth a couple of times. And the next question below that is asking for family members and non-family members that have access to covered vehicles. So maybe you have a spouse that is not working for your business, but you're allowing them to take a vehicle off the lot to go run some errands. Maybe you're a repair shop and you have a scheduled auto and you're allowing, your son or your daughter to drive the vehicle around. This is the section where you're going to put their information so that we can rate for them, because it is an added driving exposure. And the last question on here is the percentage of operations. The repair shop is only on the left column, and the dealership is going to be on the right column under the sale. Do your best splitting out their exposure. I know it's, going to be tough, but the best guesstimate is all we're asking for here. So we can gauge, are they a heavy truck dealership? Are they repairing some farm equipment, maybe some lawnmowers? Are they working on buses, motorcycles, any boats, things like that? Just give me a good estimate of what I'm looking at here, so I make sure I'm picking the right class code for you. And I may have a supplemental that needs to be completed. Typically, I will need that prior to binding. I usually won't need that up front, but this is an important section to let me know kind of how they're divvying up their business.
Okay, great information, Teresa. So now we're going to break it up into two sections. We're going to start with auto dealers, and we'll move on to auto services. And so let's get started on auto dealers, because there's some unique information that Teresa's going to share. Some of that's going to be, questions about the purchase of vehicles, point of purchase, distance matters, and then how many vehicles are sold annually. So she's going to dig into that on the next couple slides with you. Go ahead.
Here we are again talking about how far someone's driving. Because remember, we're only including up to 300 miles. So if, someone's living in San Diego and they're going up to San Francisco to go to this great auction, that's definitely more than 300 miles. So we need to make sure that they're going to be covered going all the way up to San Francisco. So please include that information at question 23. And the one directly below is how many vehicles is this dealership selling a year? We want to know, is it a very small operation or is it a larger operation? Some of the smaller operations may not be a good fit for one of my markets, so I need to take it somewhere else. So this is an important question, so I know what markets I have available for your client. And are they retail, wholesale, consignment? Retail meaning, are they selling to the general public, or are they wholesale? They're selling to other businesses. If your customer tells you, well, I sell at wholesale prices, doesn't mean they're a wholesaler. We need to know who's the end user here. Is it the general public, or is it another dealership, another business? That's going to help you determine whether they are retail or wholesale. And consignment, that is when you're selling a vehicle on behalf of somebody else, which is definitely something we can accommodate. We just want to see a copy of that consignment agreement prior to binding, making sure that the person who actually owns that vehicle does have coverage for that vehicle. We don't want to be held liable for somebody else's vehicle, even though it's hanging out on our lot for sale.
Okay, so good information on auto dealers, things that you need to know. Let's move on to the auto service exposure, and that's really your garage repair. And you want to be able to understand their service exposure. And for example, is there a paint shop exposure? You have to ask those questions, and the app is a really good way to guide you. And also, is there structural frame modification services? Are they altering the vehicles in any way from the way they were manufactured? So Teresa's going to go over this section of the application now.
All right. Service repair risks. There are so many different types of repair shops out there, and these are some of the categories, some of the larger categories that my carriers have come up with. And then there's also that other category. Please don't put general repair in that other category. Please try to split out the types of repair work they're doing. If they are doing general repair, you're going to want to look on the left side of this chart towards the top. Usually the top 6 is where your general repair guys are going to be. Anything below that is going to, you're getting into tires, you're getting into more of your collision repair shops. And then anything on the right is typically your specialized repair shops. This is stereo and alarm. That's pretty much all they're going to be doing. Performance enhancements, lift kits, or your detail guys. Please do the best you can in splitting out the percentages. Again, this is going to help me pick which classification to put them under, and as well as other underwriting requirements, especially when we're talking about tires, performance adjustments. That's not going to be a good fit for some of my markets, but will be for some of my others. And of course, if there's any questions, you're not sure, I'm not sure how this fits in any of these boxes, not a problem. Reach out to me. I'm available, email, phone call, or if you need to, go ahead and use that other category, and I can always reach out to you if I need any specific information. On this slide, we're going to be talking about spray paint booths and then the frame cutting and stretching. The spray paint booth, there's 4 questions underneath there. There's some underwriting that goes into this because it's a large fire and pollution hazard. So we want to make sure the proper safeguards are in place in order for them to be eligible with my market. And then the frame cutting and stretching, that's pretty heavy. You're altering a vehicle essentially. So that's definitely not something we would be interested in writing. If they're only doing frame straightening, not a problem. We just need to know the make and model of the machine being used for the straightening. And if you're not sure what the difference is, simply do an online Google search, and you can find some great pictures and information so you can see what frame cutting looks like, frame stretching, versus what frame straightening is, which is if you're, if you're in a minor collision, you can usually just straighten out the frame. But cutting and stretching, that's a little too much on the altering side of the spectrum for my carriers. And now we're getting into insurance history. If they don't have insurance history, that's fine. Just let me know. We can do new ventures. We can write dealerships or repair shops that have been in business but just haven't had coverage. Not a problem. But if they have had coverage, please put it on here, because that gives me the opportunity to offer credit. So the more information you have about their loss history, the better. And I'm not going to require loss runs, while quoting. I'll request it subject to binding. The only time I need loss history up front is if they've had any losses, in the past 3 years. That's going to be the only time I'm asking for loss runs up front. But please, any information you can give me about their loss history is great, because it just helps me help your client that much more.
Okay. Again, great information. So now we're going to go into some of these unique coverages that garage forms have. And we're going to go over the general liability coverage, garage keepers coverage, dealer's physical damage coverage, and other coverages. So take it away, Teresa.
All right, now we're getting into the meat and potatoes here of the application. Garage liability. What is garage liability? It's general liability for a garage operation. So they call it garage liability. So I just need to know what limits they're looking for, and we have to offer garage liability. We can't just offer garage keepers or dealer's physical damage. Those coverages need to be accompanied by garage liability. So please put a limit in here for me. We have several deductible options. And then we're getting into our med pay. Garage operations would be their garage location. So they can have medical payments for their garage location. And they can also have the option of having auto med pay. So if they have that scheduled auto, or if they have furnished drivers, they may want to look into getting that auto medical payments in case anybody's injured. coverage, I think we're all pretty familiar with that. You can put your limit in there. Next to that is PIP, which is personal injury protection. Not every state has this. I know we don't offer that here in California, but places like Oregon, Colorado, you can go ahead and add on that PIP coverage. Right underneath that is your additional insured. So it could be your landlord. Maybe it's a repair shop that's getting referrals from somebody and they need to be added as an AI. You can put all those AI requests on those lines. Right below that is your garage keepers. What is garage keepers? Garage keepers is coverage for your customers' vehicles while they're in your care, custody, and control. So this would be for your repair shop. Or it could even be for your dealership that is test driving customer vehicles because maybe they're going to buy that car off of the customer. So this section is definitely important for your repair shops so they can get coverage for their customer's vehicle while they're repairing it, while it's there overnight. There's a couple of different types of coverages you can get. Legal liability and direct primary. Legal liability is only insuring the vehicle if your client is negligent for the damages caused to that vehicle. So let's say a mechanic puts the customer's vehicle on the lift. They didn't do it right, and it causes damage to the vehicle. Maybe the vehicle falls off the lift. Our customer is going to be legally liable for that vehicle that fell off the lift. But let's say a vehicle is left overnight and it gets vandalized. Our customer wasn't legally liable because the car got vandalized. It happened overnight when he wasn't there. If you have legal liability coverage, guess what? There's not going to be any coverage for that vandalism. But if your customer were to have direct primary, that's the most broad coverage you can have, because any damage that is caused to the client's vehicle while it's in their care, custody, and control is going to have coverage. So please pick which type of coverage they're looking for. Legal liability obviously is going to have a less of a charge than direct primary, because direct primary is the broader of the two. But at the end of the day, it's probably worth that extra $50 to $100 to get the direct primary. And then we have different causes of loss, specified cause of loss with collision or comprehensive. There is no price difference for either of these. Comprehensive with collision is the broader coverage, so that's really the only one I ever see picked. Then we go into the different types of deductibles that are offered. And then the last two lines I want to bring to your attention, the in-transit limit, which is also referred to as on-hook coverage. These are going to be for any type of towing exposure that your client may have. So we're going to need to know, how many tow trucks do they have? How many vehicles can each of the tow trucks carry at one time? And the per auto limit is going to equal the garage keeper's maximum value limit. So everything stays in line there. And now we're going to the dealership side. So, how much coverage do we need for all the vehicles on the lot? What's the average vehicle, average value vehicle? What's the maximum value of the vehicle? And then, if you add it all together, what are we getting for that total limit? The causes of loss are basically the same as on the repair shop side. You have the specified cause, comprehensive, which is the most common one people choose, and then you have the very basic fire and theft. You have the same types of deductible options as you do on the repair shop side, and then we get into any lost payees. A lot of dealerships need to be on the floor plan because they can't afford to own all these vehicles outright, so they finance them, and this is where we would add the lost payee on. And then the last question here is the drive-away miles. Again, how far are these people traveling to the auctions? If it's more than 300 miles, please let me know. If it's 500, 1,000, anything over 1,000, we would get into the unlimited. And the additional coverages. I like to say these are a la carte coverages. It's things like personal and advertising injury, damage to premises rented, which also known as fire legal. This is where all those extra coverages are going to be available for your client. We went over registration plates a few slides ago. If you have any questions on that, let me know. So hopefully that slide will help. It has a pretty good definition and examples on there. False pretense. That is something that your dealership may want to have coverage for. I've definitely seen a couple of claims cross my desk in regards to false pretense. It's a trickery or scheme coverage. It's when someone causes a dealership to part ways with the vehicle by trickery. So let's say they give you a fraudulent money order, or you let them do a test drive by themselves, which, this day and age with COVID, that's probably happening a lot more because no one wants somebody else in the vehicle with them. So, you let them test drive the car and then they never come back. So this is how you can get coverage for that. And obviously there is some underwriting criteria. If you state on the application that they are doing an unaccompanied test drive, you're not going to be eligible for false pretense coverage. There has to be, there has to be some guidelines in place in order for the applicant to be eligible for false pretense. personal injury liability is your, like on your general liability, it's just personal and advertising injury coverage. Damage to premises rented is your fire legal, and you can have those two. You can have personal and advertising injury and damage to premises liability bundled up, and that's called broadened coverage. Usually it's cheaper just to get the broadened coverage rather than only selecting damage to premises rented or personal and advertising injury. And then we get into drive other car coverage. What is that? That is a dealership type of coverage, and it's when you're, let's say you're going to an auction and you need to rent a car, or you need to borrow a vehicle to go do something, and that's when this coverage is going to come into play. Instead of purchasing the coverage from, the rental place, you can just add on drive other car coverage and it'll cover you for your liability, your uninsured motorist, and your physical damage. Errors and omission coverage is available for your dealership risks, and it actually lists out the coverages available under the errors and omissions. You have the federal odometer, truth in lending, and your title coverage. It's only $150 if they want to add on those E&O coverages. And we can also add property to the garage policy. Typically not heavy on property under the garage program, but we can definitely offer building, business personal property, business income. We can even add inland marine if needed. So that's definitely something that we can accommodate on the garage policies.
Okay. Again, more great information. So let's talk about the takeaway. What would you learn here? Hopefully you're walking away understanding, what type of garage exposure you are insuring, and you can better understand what type of coverage that each insured will need and how much. And then you utilize the application as a tool to gather the right information. Teresa certainly showed you that that the application can be used as a means to gather what coverage and how much they need for the insured. There is a question, Teresa, what is broadened coverage?
Broadened coverage is it's personal and advertising injury and your damage to premises rented coverage combined into one. So that is broadened coverage.
Okay, and feel free to contact Teresa if you have any further questions about, that if you're not sure that you're understanding that what that coverage is, and she can help you further. So I just want to take a moment and thank you all for joining us today. And if you have any other questions, please send them over as well. You can put them in the chat or send them directly to Teresa, and we will get all those answered for you. Teresa's ready to start working with you on garage submissions. She's fast with her quotes. As long as we can get, she can gather the right information from the application, she can quote things fast for you. So please submit your applications today and contact Teresa with any questions. And we look forward to doing business with you. And thank you for those that are currently doing business with us. We appreciate your business.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care. Have a great day.